The Sobros Network proudly brings to you two friends reunite coast to coast to phone it in on history, the creepy and the bizarre, lifestyle and travel, psychological and sociological phenomena. Well, pretty much anything. This is Phone It In on the Sobros Network.
Welcome in to episode 45 of Phone It In right here on the Sobros Network. Mine's right, ass is tight as we tackle today's show for you. I am the host of Phone It In, the EIC at SobrosNetwork.com, Big Natural Stoney Keeley. You can follow me on Twitter at Stoney Keeley. Follow us collectively at Sobros Network on all major social media platforms. Joined as usual by the star of the show herself, the cryptid queen of Sobros Network, Rooster. Rooster, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm sleepy.
Sleepy? Yeah, I'm kind of sleepy too, but I feel like they're for very different reasons that we don't have to go into on this podcast. But nonetheless, we are here to talk about, I keep laughing because, I mean, for one, I didn't nail the countdown into the intro video. So there's like a flash scene of us just sitting here in between. I don't know if you saw that or not, but that made me start laughing. I didn't time that right.
I saw that. I was like, oh.
And then two, I'm laughing at my picture in that intro video because it looks like I have clown makeup on or something. So
yeah, the lighting seems a little off. Like we're a little red.
Yeah, just a little bit. So I'm trying to rein it in and talk this out because we're going to talk about a really interesting subject today. Zé Arigó, the psychic faith healer that I just learned about when I randomly picked up this wonderful book called The Greatest Mysteries of the Unexplained by Lucy Doncaster and Andrew Holland. And shout out to Yankee Candle.
That's a pretty cool looking book.
It is a really cool book. My mother got it for me for Christmas a couple of years ago. And sometimes if I'm, I got like 5 minutes to kill, I'll just like open this book and read like a short essay about some weird shit that happened. And Jose Arigó, as he's called in the book, stood out to me as something that I don't know that we've really talked about anything like this on Phone It In so far. So I'm stoked to talk about this today. It's going to be a good episode, but a couple of things that I do want to mention before we get started. Sobroshop.com. We got some brand new merch up there. We got some new merch coming. The Nashville Hot t-shirt that Rooster is wearing is available on Sobroshop.com. And Rooster, I want to ask you about your short story, Consumed, up on SobrosNetwork.com. How you feel about that? It's been a pretty good reception to it so far.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels weird sharing something. I kind of honestly forgot about it this week. I forgot that the final chapter was coming out. So it's kind of nice getting it out there and now forgetting about it.
The ending was pretty awesome. I gotta say, like just the last two words there are fantastic. So
thank you.
If you haven't read it, you can go on SobrosNetwork.com, start with chapter 4. It's 4 chapters up on the website, or if you can wait till next week, I'm going to release everything as a single post so that you don't have to worry about
big old
that.
wall of text.
Yeah, 8,888 words. Is that right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. We're at episode 45, and I'm doing the math, and I'm thinking our 50th episode milestone is coming up pretty soon, and it's actually going to fall on October.
Oh.
If we go by an episode per month, episode 50 is going to be in October. So we gotta think about something big to do for episode 50. Not right now. I'm not asking you to think about on the spot.
Brainstorm right now
for what's going to happen in 4 months' time. But I'm just saying. Episode 45, Zé Arigó. What did you think about this topic, Rooster?
It's funny that you brought this up because I had just listened to another podcast that like briefly touched on like psychic surgery. I had never heard of this person, and I don't think I'd ever even heard of psychic surgery before that other podcast I listened to. So when you came up with this topic, I thought it was very it was an interesting coincidence.
It's kind of like a topic that was tailor made for this show, but also one that neither of us were too familiar with. Pretty interesting. And as we do get into the show, I meant to remind you guys at the top of the show. Excuse me, as I'm battling food poisoning. If you want to comment on the show, we encourage you to do so, but please do so on Facebook or YouTube so that we can actually see your comments in real time. For whatever reason, the Twitter comments don't show up. So if you got something to say, watch over on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll get the comments in as they come in. So without further ado, Rooster, how about we get into Zé Arigó?
I think I've said the pseudonym of
every time I've said his name.
Yeah, I don't even want to try it because I'm pretty sure I would do the same thing. And I mess up way too many names already, so I'm just going to let you do that.
Okay, fair enough.
So pseudonym of Jose, which I guess say is just a nickname, makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Pedro de Freitas. Born October 18th, 1921, was a faith healer and proponent of psychic surgery in Brazil. He claimed to have performed psychic surgery with his hands or with simple kitchen utensils while in a mediumistic trance. Therefore, he was also known as the surgeon of the rusty knife.
Oof.
Which is not a great title, really.
Horrible branding.
During his operations, he supposedly embodied the spirit of Dr. Fritz.
Yeah, that was a really strange turn that this story took. And I'm sure we'll get into it. But the fact that he wasn't just saying like, I'm blessed with the Holy Spirit, as a lot of like faith healers of the era said, he was just like, nope, there's a German physician inside of me that's just taking over and performing these miracles. It's pretty wild. So let's dial it back and talk about his background a little bit.
Jose was born on a farm to a very poor family, and he could only study up to the 3rd grade of school. At the age of 14, he began working at a mine where he stayed for 6 years. According to his autobiography, around 1950, he began to suffer from depression, strong headaches, insomnia, trances, hallucinations, sleepwalking, etc. Unable to get any relief from doctors, he went to a local spiritualist who told him the cause of the problem was a spirit who wanted to work through him. He eventually learned this entity was a German doctor, Adolphus Fritz.
Man, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I know it's like, the 1950s. We don't exactly know a whole lot about mental health at this point.
We don't even now. And you're telling me a small village in Brazil couldn't figure out why he had depression, headaches, insomnia, trances, hallucinations, and sleepwalking? Like, yeah, no shit.
I mean, it's a pretty common answer back then. They're like, oh, well, it's a spirit. It must be. So the crazy thing is that we learn that it actually fucking works. That he heals, quote unquote, which we'll talk about the skeptic's answer to this, but he ends up like healing around 1,000 people, thousands of people throughout his lifetime.
Can you imagine if just like you have all these headaches and somebody tells you, yeah, there's a spirit inside of you?
I think that would scare me even more than just not being able to figure out why I'm having all these headaches.
I don't think it would help with the hallucinations.
Probably not. Maybe that's what they were. Maybe they were just trying to like, hey, let's send this guy off the deep end so that we can just institutionalize him. And it didn't work. Instead, he actually became a legitimate, quote unquote
Well,
surgeon that could perform miracles, legitimate miracle workers. This story makes me want to order the miracle spring water that they advertise on television. Have you ever seen those, or is that's just in the South? I'm sure.
well, I don't watch commercials.
Man, that's kind of wild to think about.
They still have they still have those?
Yeah. People still watch television, like live television, and see commercials. It's on like TV Land, all the old shows and stuff like that.
And something that's so snake oily, like
yeah.
That's weird.
So what are you doing if you're sitting there like bleeding out in your village and you see just like Jose from around the corner just grab a rusty knife and just start laying into you?
If I'm bleeding, I don't think that's going to help.
Because like, so one of the things they said, the skeptics' response to his miracle healing through the possession of this German physician is that it was a placebo effect. But like, what about the first surgery? Like,
there is some
you don't
really
know that he's
wild
a miracle
shit.
worker.
Yeah, there's some really wild shit in this. Like,
do you have the notes about his, like, the first time he let the German doctor take over and perform a miracle? Is that story in your notes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll get
if that's at the hotel.
The grandmother or the relative or whatever.
Oh, no. Wait, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, there's a story about him with a relative that was dying, and he talks about how he felt just compelled to take action. And so he just grabbed a knife and performed the surgery, cut a tumor out of his grandma or somebody, and she made a full recovery, lived a healthy life afterwards. But how can you explain that as a placebo? Because to Granny, this is just Jose. This isn't a renowned miracle worker. Right. I can see as he starts to stack up successful cases where people might go into it.
Sure.
They're like, yeah, don't give me any sort of anesthesia. Just stick a knife in my eyeball and give me cataract surgery, you know?
Jesus.
But it's weird. And let's dig into exactly what happened and how it happened here with the next section of notes that you got for us.
Okay. So once he began to channel Dr. Fritz and perform operations using scalpels and needles, his headaches relented. His reputation soared, I guess after miraculously pulling a tumor out of somebody's lung. Was it a lung? Was it
lung, or I can't remember. It's in the book here. I could just fucking look at it. I got it bookmarked. Let's see here.
Lung is what. Yeah. Go ahead and share what you've got.
All right. Let's see. He first became aware of his abilities while visiting a dying relative.
I love that you read like it's a picture book that you're sharing with us.
The whole family had assembled to bid their farewells to the woman who was suffering from a life-threatening tumor. However, as the priest read out the last rites, Arigó recounted how he felt strangely compelled to take action. Seizing a knife from the kitchen, he cut into the woman and removed the tumor on the spot. Amazingly, she made a rapid recovery, and it was after this that Arigó's community realized.
You've said it multiple ways now, so it's fine.
That they were very fortunate to have a remarkable psychic healer in their midst. I mean, I don't
understand why they trusted him to come at somebody with a knife.
Yeah, like, why didn't anybody stop him?
As far as they know, he's just like coming at you with a rusty knife. Like,
man, that's a great hole in this story. I wonder what the source of this story is, because I mean, it just doesn't seem like.
Well, I think he had an autobiography, so I mean, how truthful is that going to be? But I think so. I'll get into it a little bit later. But people did go and like study him, which that one is interesting, and I think I would be interested in finding that book.
We're gonna have to have a whole part 2 of this episode.
So his reputation soared and spread throughout Brazil after it was alleged that he had removed a cancerous tumor from the lung of a well-known Brazilian senator. So that was like the big one that really made him famous.
Yeah.
Apparently they were staying at the same hotel because there was like a miners' rally. And the senator was scheduled to fly to America the next day to have the tumor removed there. But Jose entered the room in a trance-like state with a razor blade in his hand.
Yeah.
You're just in your fucking hotel room and some dude is like sleepwalking and comes into your room with a fucking razor blade.
Yeah. I mean, and this was a pretty common thing for like all of them. Like it was just both of like the doctor and the patient, if you will, would just kind of go into these states. Like there's some in the description in the book I read, is like you just see the whites of his eyes while he's doing this. Yeah,
he's not even fucking looking.
Yeah, it's just wild stuff that I mean, to me, I don't know. I'm as skeptical as it gets, but I struggle to come up with an explanation for this.
Well, unless they're just straight up lying.
Yeah, but how do you? They would talk about how the patient would feel nothing. Like this,
how many patients were tracked down and talked? Although the Senate, okay, so hold on. So he comes down with a razor blade in his hand, and that's all the senator could remember.
Yeah.
So the senator woke up covered in blood, his shirt ripped, and an incision in his rib cage. Jose didn't remember anything either. So who knows what could have happened? More than just the surgery could have happened.
Man,
we don't know who Dr. Fritz is.
What if he had Dr. Fritz with him, like a physical body, and he would go into the room in
like a dead body, like he's just dragging a dead
body? No. Dr. Fritz is still alive. Nobody's
okay.
But he goes in like a trance and basically knocks out the patient, and then the real Dr. Fritz just comes in behind him and performs the surgery. And
they're still really crazy surgeries, though. These are not normal surgeries.
Yeah, that's true.
So the physician x-rays confirmed the tumor mysteriously disappeared.
Yeah.
Also, what happened? They just both wake up and they're like, oh, where's the tumor? Like, did he eat it? Is he just eating the tumors? Because like, how is the tumor just gone? Like, I imagine it's on the bedside table or something.
He's just like, throwing it out the window. We got this thing out. Feeding the fucking feeding the fucking pigeons.
The pigeons.
Yeah, this is wild. I mean, credit to Jose for humble beginnings, and he took it to the mountaintop. He found his way in life, and
he did.
Started from the bottom. Now we here, as they say.
Words spread quickly after the senator mentioned this in political speeches. So that's quite you get a lot of publicity from that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know different times, but I don't know that I would talk about this in public. I think this would be one of those things that it's just so harrowing and so jarring. I'd just be like, I'm not sure that actually happened. I don't know what happened. So I'm just not going to talk about it.
It's got to be terrifying. Some strange man walked into your fucking room with a weapon.
Yeah.
And then you don't remember anything, but you're bloody, your shirt's ripped, and your tumor's gone. I would be like, I would just repress the shit out of that. I'd be like, I don't know what happened.
I mean,
I'm healthy now, so that's good. But I don't know what happened.
I mean, it's easy to explain if you can track down like whether or not he's like drugging these people. You'd feel like that's a pretty straightforward answer there, but how do you explain the successful surgery?
Yeah, that part I don't know. Like, I don't know.
The gears are turning. The gears are turning.
Because it's confirmed by physicians too, so it really is weird.
Yeah,
and that's the part I can't like, because I love this stuff, but to me it's just like it can't be real. I mean, you lean towards whatever the realistic option is here, but this is fucking weird. It's very strange. That's why I just have to think people are lying.
Well, I mean, Okay, so maybe we'll get into this later. Oh, we will. Yeah, I see it in the notes. But like eventually they throw his ass in jail because of
Yeah.
this. So like if you're lying to make all this stuff up to gain fame and subsequent fortunes, I mean, it's not like he ever becomes rich and lives in a castle
No, I don't
somewhere.
think he doesn't. Okay, he doesn't charge people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So word spread quickly after Senator mentioned this in political speeches. Jose opened up a clinic and performed operations free of charge. So he's not
Insane.
even. The Brazilian Wikipedia says he had traditional Catholic training. So it is more religious bent for him, at least in his mind, whatever the fuck is happening. He's taking it to the more religious side of things. I don't know what traditional Catholic training means, though. I don't know if that means he's just raised Catholic or if like he went to Catholic medical school. Like, I don't know
Well,
what kind of training we're talking about here.
They note in my book that he has no medical training whatsoever. I mean, we talked about it earlier.
Okay.
Like, what did he graduated like the 3rd grade or something
Yeah,
like that? I mean, he has
sure.
no qualifications to be
No.
cutting people open with fucking kitchen knives.
No, and they're rusty. How are these people not get an infection at least?
What is traditional? It's just traditional Catholic education.
So, okay, he just
like
knows
Catholicism, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. So he just was raised Catholic. Okay. That's what
Yeah.
training means, I guess.
With no medical expertise. I think we can safely say
trained atheist. Is that what we say now?
Yes.
Over the next 20 years, thousands of people who mistrusted traditional medicine or had not found help in it came to Cojonhas,
I think. No, that's not right. Was that? I guess that's the name of his clinic or the town he's
village. In. Yeah. I forgot that. I don't know how to say this. Okay. In search of a cure. So in 1956, Jose was convicted of illegally practicing medicine.
Yeah.
He was sentenced to 15 months in prison, but was pardoned by the president of Brazil.
You're not going to pronounce that name?
No. No. Juscelino Kubitschek
de Oliveira.
Look, and this is a president, so that's like more like I'm not super worldly. I don't know the president of Brazil in 1956.
Yeah, sure.
In 1962, he was arrested and held for 7 months for practicing medicine without a license, which at the very least, come on, yeah, you can't just.
I know, man. Like you got some guy out there just cutting people open with a knife.
Yeah, you can't do that because then you're going to have kids practicing medicine. Where does it end?
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Were there any like knockoffs? I wonder if that was an unintended consequence of
There were a lot. Yeah. People started doing the same thing. And some people even claimed to also have Dr. Fritz specifically because Dr. Fritz is just the fucking man.
Dr. Fritz, man, he's wrong place, wrong time. He wanted to get to Brazil and he did one way or the other.
Yeah.
So in 1962, this is after he was sentenced to 15 months. Then he was pardoned. Then 6 years later, he's arrested and held again.
Yeah.
Same issue.
Yeah.
But they let him perform on the people in jail.
He's arrested for practicing medicine without a license, and then in jail they're like, yeah, okay, you can continue to treat people.
Sure. You can take care of these guys.
Like, could you yeah, we arrested you for this. Just keep doing the crime in jail. That's fine.
It does raise an interesting moral question. And
yes.
I can't.
What are we arresting him for then?
I've sat on this all day. Just could not wait to ask you this. What do you do in this situation? Because I mean, you can't explain it. He doesn't have a license, but people are healing. thousands of people.
Mm.
You put him in jail, and wants to heal people, and he can. I mean, what do you do here?
I would try and figure out how the fuck he's doing this, because he's a liar. This dude's lying.
I mean, did they just not have a healthy sense of skepticism back in the day? To like, why weren't people in the room with him documenting this stuff? Studying.
Well, eventually there were people, which I am interested in reading this book, but I don't trust them. They're fucking liars too. I don't believe it.
So that's like, you're just chalking it all up. Everybody's lying.
I don't understand how it's possible.
I don't either. And that's why, I'm curious from the literal physical sense of how this works, but also the social aspect of it, where this guy is helping people. Supposedly, if we're to take everything at face value in this story, supposedly he's helping people who would have otherwise died if not for him. But this is like wildly inappropriate, unsafe, and literally against the law. So what do we do?
Yeah.
I mean, I think obviously they had grounds to arrest him and lock him up. And I think it is, you have to do it, because
where does it end?
Where does it end? Exactly. So I'm not saying that it was
weird. I mean, yeah, just if you're saving people, then save people. It doesn't make any sense how it's happening, but
and the fact that they just let him do it to the inmates in the jail kind of tells me like maybe there was some conflict in this, because you can't really explain it.
The president pardoned him.
Yeah, so these are big decision makers.
And he's not even charging people, so he's not getting rich off of it. And, that's great that he's just healing people free of charge. It doesn't make any sense. It's very weird.
I think this is one of the few topics we've discussed on this show that I just genuinely don't have an answer for it. Nothing seems plausible, and I don't really know how I feel about it.
It's very strange. Yeah, it's very strange. So Jose died in 1971 in an automobile accident.
Yeah. Pour one out. I'm not literally, I'm going to take a drink. I'm not literally.
So psychic surgery / skeptic talk. Honestly, there wasn't a lot of good skeptic stuff here, because it's very strange. It's very strange.
I also feel like a lot of the stuff that I encountered researching this was like the same thing that you and I are saying, like, well, it can't be real because it's not possible to be real. But there's not a lot of explanation beyond that.
Yeah. Was there anything else interesting in your book?
I don't know. Let me just read the whole essay here on him. Yeah, the thing that I found interesting was what you've already brought up about him, like not claiming that he was a conduit for the Holy Spirit and just saying like, nope, it is German physician Dr. Adolphus Fritz that is in my body. And I think we've covered everything else. People were concerned about the unsanitary nature of his surgeries.
Yeah. Which that too is very surprising, because how are they not getting like just an infection, like a bacterial infection?
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, this is kind of what we're talking about, the approaching this with a healthy level of skepticism. This book does address that. I mean, flat out saying modern science is unable to offer an explanation as to how he was able to practice with such an astonishing degree of success. And then they talk about the placebo effect, which is kind of their best guess at what's going on, where, these people like Jose trick their patients into thinking they have been healed. And because the patient's belief is so strong, they go on to make a full recovery, which makes sense. But like I said, those early patients before his reputation preceded him How do you explain that? Because he's, like I said, he's just Jose from around the block. They also add, this method could not explain the incredible level of success that he managed to sustain over so many decades. Belief in his power of healing will take many years to fade. And that's how they close the
I was
the
gonna
essay.
say, like, I mean, the placebo effect, I feel like that can only go so
Oh
far.
God.
Oh,
Oh no.
revealed your candle.
No free ads. No free ads for Yankee Candle. I never talk
Um,
about them. So
I feel like the placebo effect could only go so far.
it feels, I mean, listen, respect. It's a better guess than I came up with before I read it. But yeah, still, there's too much. I mean,
Like, the power of positive thinking doesn't remove tumors.
I mean, I'm not going to think positively about something and not feel a fucking knife in my eye.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I don't believe in anything strongly enough to negate what I would assume
But I
that
don't think
feels
they
like.
even really feel it that much. Like, there's no anesthesia or anything, but it's like they feel no pain when it happens. Like, the
It's
way
so crazy.
he does everything is like it just slips in, and like the wound is tiny. It doesn't take a long time to heal. It doesn't hurt.
You're also assuming when you talk about the precision of taking a tumor out of someone's body, like you don't just have to get the tumor, but you have to make sure that you don't hit something else that could fatally wound these people.
Like,
Like,
he's going right in at the magic spot. Like, how does he even know where the tumor is?
yeah. And his eyes are rolling back in his head. And he can't talk. And oh my God, I don't explain it. I mean, I've tried to avoid saying this out loud, but the most plausible thing here is probably that,
They're
yeah,
lying.
he's possessed by a doctor, and this doctor is acting through him because it wants to help people.
Or he's lying.
But then how do you explain the successful surgeries?
I don't know these patients. Show me these patients. Let me
So
talk to one of these patients.
that you're talking about thousands of people lying. Now, okay,
Allegedly.
here's something for you to chew on. What about this? We're talking about a time when we didn't know a lot about mental health. We didn't have, and Brazil no less, poverty. How do we verify that these people had tumors to begin with and didn't just think, my side hurts a little bit, I must have a tumor, I need to go see the doctor?
That's true.
And then
I
it
just
spreads
I
like
don't know.
wildfire.
I don't know that much about these patients. I don't know who they are. I don't know if they really exist. Like, is most of this information coming from his own autobiography?
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I don't know.
also,
There's actually a little movie which I watched the trailer for, I think, and
yeah, I didn't.
he almost seems like a little hero. It's crazy. It is
Yeah,
actually crazy. So
I think he's still, I know up until his death, he was still considered a hero. And I would imagine probably still considered a hero today. But also talking about like, oh, well, the patients maybe think they're ailing of something that they're not actually ailing from.
well, it says they come from, they come if traditional medicine has failed them. So, like,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
they've gone to a hospital and they're like, yeah, there's nothing we can do about this. And so they're like, fuck it, I'm going to Jose.
Yeah. Or maybe they are imagining the issues, and maybe that's why traditional medicine can do nothing about it.
Hmm.
And maybe, I mean, we don't
Unless
know.
there's
Maybe
x-rays and then his tumor is somehow gone, but
well,
both of
that's
you
the
were just
thing.
knocked the fuck out, so you don't even know what happened.
Like, we have the account of the person, the senator,
The
that the
senator
physicians.
is a crazy story. That's a difficult one to wrap my head around.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's either
Okay,
some massive cover up, or it's really Dr.
it's
Dr.
really a
Fritz doing his work.
well, maybe the Dr. Fritz thing is a lie. Maybe it's just something else.
What
And
if
it went by Dr. Fritz so that it's not as scary to Jose.
Oh, I like that.
So, magician and skeptic James Randi considered the psychic surgery of Jose to be the result of sleight of hand trickery. I don't know how you do that though. Like you make
He's
a
a
little cut and
magician.
you're like, got your tumor. Like, how the fuck do you do sleight of hand with a tumor?
Maybe he's putting tumors, he's putting fake tumors in people as they're sleeping. And then he's like, oh, you got a tumor. You better come in and let me
It
cut
all
that out
started
of
with one. He got one tumor and now he's just trading them. You know, he keeps it with him
Yeah.
and he just like, Randi published a photograph of himself performing a knife stunt that Jose was alleged to have performed. That's weak as shit, Randi. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, just try. That's what we call a hater. He's just hating.
Which Randi came up in the podcast that I listened to, which was about some other psychic thing, but he is a well-known skeptic because he was a magician and he tries to be like, no, this is like sleight of hand. This is how I would do it.
Magic must have hurt him bad.
I know. I think he just got tired of people doing magic and like acting like they weren't doing magic. Which I could see, you know, get annoyed with that too. Because
yeah, for sure.
You're just lying to people. So that's I think what he was trying to do. Which is fine. That's fine. James Randi's fine, I guess, for doing that. Skeptical investigator Joe Nickel has written that Jose prescribed various potions and concoctions that obviously depended on for their effectiveness on the placebo effect. I don't know what is going on with that sentence. His prescriptions were filled at the only pharmacy in town run by the amateur doctor's brother.
Okay,
by such means were Jose's alleged miracle healings actually performed. So they're giving these people roofies.
Yeah.
And then some medicine and being like, there you go.
And I mean, he could just be acting like he's in a trance, obviously, too.
Yeah, well, sure.
But then
it's a lot easier for him to act than.
What if it's all just
it is a little suspicious that his brother is running the only pharmacy in town.
Yeah. It is. And
I wonder how much the brother is charging.
Now there's a good question. I don't know.
In 1968, 2 American doctors arrived in the village to complement the research because people had been showing up to like watch.
I mean,
this Lawrence
kind of thing's going to draw some attention, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. Drs. Lawrence, John, and P. Eiley Breviter.
Yeah. All right.
Of the William Benck Psychic Foundation. Oh, so they're just psychic doctors.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Okay.
All right.
Even without having reached a conclusive explanation for the phenomenon, they proved that the medium's practice did not involve illusionism or sorcery.
How do they prove that it didn't involve sorcery?
Yeah, how do you prove sorcery?
Yeah.
Declaring that 95% of the medium's diagnoses were correct and that
these aren't medical doctors.
Yeah, I got of the Psychic Foundation. What kind of doctors are we talking about here?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they medical doctors or are they just doctors of
They're psychic doctors?
Illusionism.
Yeah. I don't know.
So his diagnoses were correct and that operations carried out with a penknife without any asepsis.
Okay, sure.
Were only possible due to its sensitivity, explainable only in the light of parapsychology.
Oh man, did you ever get into parapsychology?
We'll define it.
Parapsychology is like the psychology for paranormal shit. So they're man, I was so bummed because my last year at MTSU they added a course for parapsychology.
They had a course.
Yeah, but it was not available. Cool. early on. It was only available after I'd already fulfilled like all of my electives and stuff. Like I was looking for courses and it was like, oh, for next semester, this is going to be available, but I was graduating before then, so I couldn't take the course. But I did talk to one of the professors who said, we've got a section of parapsychology books in the library. So I went and checked it out and it was pretty cool. I read about an
No, I
experiment
haven't
they did
really.
at Duke University where like people could claim to control, it was like telepathy. So like they could control dice. They would roll the die and control what numbers popped up. It's pretty cool.
Well, that's
So yeah,
cool.
this would obviously fall under that umbrella. But
Well, yeah.
again, how advanced was it at the time?
So it's not going into the psychology of the paranormal. It's just doing like psychic.
A
Just
little
talking
bit
about psychic.
little bit of both. And then like, yeah, I mean, there was like a whole chapter of the book that I was too much of a pussy to read, but it was like, why do poltergeists do the things that they do
Oh,
and that sort of stuff. And I
huh.
was like, no, I'm
Okay.
going to read
Well,
about
that's
this dice
interesting.
experiment so I can still sleep tonight.
So okay, this was a book that it seemed more interesting. So this source seems to be
Are you frozen? Did we just lose the screen?
do you want to say his name, his last name?
Arigó. 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 How about that?
Surgeon of the Rusty Knife. That's what the book is called.
All right.
So his last name, Surgeon of the Rusty Knife, by John Fuller, with an afterword by Henry K.
Park.
Okay.
All these names in this episode. We can't get a break.
A medical parapsychological researcher, medical inventor, physician, and author. He is known as the person who brought Israeli Uri Geller, who is the guy who bends spoons and does like psychic viewings, to the United States for scientific investigation. So this guy wrote a book, and he's a bit more famous because he researched Uri Geller and everything.
Okay.
Which
and that's the guy that would like hold the spoons and bend them with his mind, right?
Yeah, he got like super famous for a while.
Yeah,
like he was all over the place.
I remember that back in 1970 or wherever it was, 1968.
I don't think it was that long ago.
Was it not?
Uri Geller? I don't know. Well, maybe. He's still around though. Okay. He's not dead or anything.
Oh no, I'm thinking of the psychic doctors. That was 1968. Oh. Okay. Yeah. My bad. I thought I made a really good joke there. Yes, I remember something from 1968. I was there.
No. Uri Geller was around like 90s, and I don't know. I assume that's why they put the whole spoon bending thing in the Matrix. You know? Because like that was like kind of big.
What was the verdict on that? How was he bending those spoons? Just leaving them in the sun for a real long time?
Well, yeah, he's lying to people. If you're like James Randi, I don't something about like how you can sort of thin out the spoon, or you can sort of like pre-bend it, or you can like break it and make it look like it's not broken by the way you hold it. Like there's different sleight of hand things, but also he could just be really fucking psychic, you know, according to John Fuller.
Could be.
Who likes going after these actually psychic people.
So did you get any of the work that he did on Jose here?
No. What do you mean?
Well, like what were his thoughts, you know? What did he think?
Well, that was just the source from that book, is that they're saying that it's he's actually a doctor. Like he's really doing this stuff somehow.
Man. All right.
They just believed that it was not sleight of hand or sorcery.
I mean, shit, like I can laugh at it, but I don't fucking know. I don't know how this is happening.
So, but Adolphus Fritz, the hypothetical German surgeon whose spirit allegedly channeled by several Brazilian psychic surgeons, starting with Jose in the 1950s and continuing up to the present. So people are still using Dr. Fritz.
Man.
But there's no evidence that he actually existed. But he apparently died in 1918 during World War I. But they have looked for him, and there are just no records of a German doctor by that name.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's not great when you can't find. If they found proof that this guy actually existed, that would be crazy. If some guy in Brazil who only went to school up to the 3rd grade pulled a real surgeon out of his ass somehow. Be like, how do you explain that?
Also, what he was, when did it say he was I've already closed the agenda. When did it say that he was
I got you.
Did they say 1918 he was born, or is that when he was a practicing physician?
1921 is when he was born. Oh, Dr. Fritz. Sorry. Yeah.
Dr. Fritz. Yeah.
Dr. Fritz died in 1918.
Okay. So like how much had medicine, healthcare evolved since his passing? Like if you were to channel his spirit, was his spirit like studying medicine this whole time he's been in the afterlife? Like how would he know contemporary practices, I guess?
Well, it's not like anything that Jose was doing was contemporary. Like
he's taking kitchen knives to people's faces.
It's just, real basic surgeon stuff.
Yeah.
Like, here's a knife. I'm going to dig this thing out of you.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I'm just trying to ask every question I can think of because it fucks with me.
And why the hell is there some German surgeon who's like, I'm dead, but I have a passion for surgery. So I'm living on.
I'm going to go help
in Brazilian.
Go help Brazil. Yeah. I don't know. So I mean, what's your best guess then as to how he was able to pull off so many successful surgeries?
I don't know. I'm really conflicted.
I think it's kind of the same principle for me as the like the deep state conspiracy theories, that like the stuff that's just a little too outlandish where you're counting on literally thousands of people to keep their mouth shut, and it's just like human nature is kind of hard to overcome in those scenarios. Like if it was just this massive lie and cover up,
well, I don't know. Well, I guess all the people, I don't know, because I don't know enough about the patients. I really don't. The senator one gets me, but like, I don't know if everybody's just from his village. We're talking about an autobiography. I would be interested in reading this book, I guess, that like of the people who went to study him and watch him work. I'm pretty suspicious of the brother running the only pharmacy there. How the hell does the brother have education and can run a pharmacy, but Jose doesn't?
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions. I feel like there's a lot of gaps that like, I don't know. I mean, is the brother just giving people dirt? Like, here's your fucking dirt tablet.
Man, it could be.
How do you run a pharmacy? Like, I don't know.
And how do you know, like, I mean, what happens if, I mean, you're only peddling like one type of medicine. It's not like somebody can come in and ask for, some Xanax or something.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we don't have any Xanax, but you can take this tablet and go see Jose. And
he just works with like a knife. So if you don't have anything to dig out of you, how much help is he going to be?
We're going to cut the anxiety out of you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think my best guess, the stab I will take at it, is just that maybe his patients are not really suffering from what they think they're suffering from. And it is a certain mix of drugs. I mean, if they're painkillers and they wake up and they're just like, oh, I can't even feel it, then that could potentially explain that. And it is a little bit of placebo. Now, that doesn't explain our senator story where the
I
physicians
know.
confirmed it.
Yeah.
But if, you know, I mean, well, see, I keep
The
running into these
senator
questions
one.
because
Yeah.
you're thinking like, well, you know, if they want this to become a legend and they want it to become a big story, it benefits somebody. They sell fucking newspapers. They get the senator into office or get him somewhere.
Okay.
Like maybe you'd want the story to grow,
It's
but
mutually beneficial.
yeah, but I mean, still like the guy's not making any money unless he's getting
Yeah.
paid like under the table to
Through the
make it look
pharmacy.
like, yeah, man.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of gaps here, and I feel like because we don't do deep dives, it's really hurting us.
Yeah.
Like, I would be interested in, I mean, I won't because there's a million other things I want to read, maybe eventually.
Yeah. Put
Like,
it on the list.
I'm curious about that book.
Yeah. I think knowing more about the patients, you're right. I think knowing more about the patients is the key to kind of understanding what's going
But
on.
I don't know
here.
how much I believe this guy, parapsychological researcher, and his psychic foundation doctors.
Yeah.
That's already starting off on the wrong foot with me, buddy.
I gotta see that
know,
outline. I gotta see that outline. I gotta see the parameters for this work.
Right.
We're gonna call it credible.
Like you're already going in with some heavy bias there.
Yeah. Maybe it is just one of those things that it's kind of a little bit of everything, and it's just a bunch of converging factors that just you caught lightning in a bottle with this guy, and the circumstances were right for things to just kind of fall his way and people to buy into it.
I wonder if there's any like modern successful psychic surgeries.
Yeah,
because
I don't know. We'll have to look into
I feel
that.
like maybe being in Brazil in a small town in the 60s,
Yeah, sure.
you could probably get away with more shit
Yeah,
in the 50s and
absolutely.
60s. So,
Well, we've talked about it before.
man, I bet being a con man was so fucking easy.
I know.
It's
Man,
a shame like the internet exists now.
what could have been? What could have
I
been?
know.
We could have been con people. Yeah.
I mean, like a good con.
Yeah.
Like, don't pay me. Pay my brother at the pharmacy.
Right.
I don't want your money.
Yeah. Very noble. Very noble. We've talked about it on this show before, but you know, kind of I think we have, maybe not. Maybe you and I have just talked about it in private, but you know, as we advance as society, humankind, skepticism, evidence, science,
Yeah,
those
it
things
gets harder and harder to believe
it gets
things.
harder and harder to believe things. So it's hard for me to imagine something like this happening
I know.
in today's society. But
Mhm.
you know, there are certain parts of the world that like still consult with like shamans and witch doctors and stuff like that. So I mean, maybe there is a place where it could still happen, but I don't know.
Well, you gotta open things up and start getting real weird with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with
My
it.
problem with that on this though is that surgery is a bit too physical for me to open that up and be real weird with it. If this were
Yeah.
like energy healing, whatever, but like you start talking about taking out tumors and like I don't know how that's working.
Yeah. Unless
Like
they're
I
not
don't know
really
how
tumors.
high strangeness. Oh, okay. You know, maybe humans do create their own tumors with their bad thoughts, and the placebo effect really does work.
What if he's just what's the thing that we can live without, like our appendix or whatever? He's just taking people's appendixes out and saying, I got this tumor.
Well, what about when he does the eye surgeries?
Just pull an appendix, cut their appendix out while they're under, sew it back up, and then just pull this out of your eye.
Yeah, that's true. And then feed it to the pigeon.
And then feed the pigeon their eyeball that he cut out.
Their eyeball, their appendix.
Cuts out their eyeball, puts their appendix where the eye was, and then pulls that out and says, looky here. Magic. Wait,
Sleight
no,
of
it's not
hand.
magic. It's not magic. It's medicine.
Mm.
Sleight of hand. Yeah. Why has that pigeon got my eyeball? I don't know. I mean, that's ultimately where I land on this is just, it's so fucking weird. I
No,
think
I
it's,
think some people do think that tumors are the accumulation of bad energy or some.
yeah.
I don't think that. So I don't know. This makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Me either. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the episodes we've done we've at least been able to plausibly create a scenario
I
that
know. And
explains
this
what
one
we're
is
talking
like,
about.
it's weird as shit. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
To be fair, it doesn't help that there's a lot of questions unanswered. So you can spin a pretty good ghost story when there's not a lot of details, you know. It's like
It's
Scooby-Doo.
true.
We're not
Yeah.
looking that closely yet. We don't see all the pulleys.
Yep. Yep. Mm. How would you pull this off from a practical, if you were using sleight of hand? How could you successfully perform a surgery on a senator that physicians confirm, unless the physicians are in on it, like we talked about a second ago?
Yeah, I think you would have to make a deal with the senator. Um,
And people would have to lie.
and who says the physician confirmed?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the senator actually ended up going to America anyway, got the surgery, and then came back and they pulled this big like PR stunt together.
Could be. Yeah.
Um,
It makes
and
the
then after
senator.
that, you are getting your brother to like roofie the villagers. You're making
Yeah.
a small cut, and then you're
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, I've cured you." And then placebo effect plus they don't know what's going on.
And drugs,
Um,
if he's got some sort of painkiller that he's passing out.
I think that's plausible.
Yeah, that is pretty plausible, actually. As you think about, like, if this man is like a hero and he's getting this following, it paints the senator in a positive light that he's associated with this guy. Like, if some of
Well,
that
then all of
branding.
Brazil is maybe you get more tourists, you
Yeah,
know? The president pardoned him.
yeah, that's true. Like, it's
You've got a
not good.
hero in Brazil.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's also like a heavily religious area then I assume because they're
Yeah,
Catholics.
yeah,
So they're already predisposed to want to believe in miracles.
yeah. So the conditions are right to pull off something like this, a psyop, if you will, to get everybody to believe it.
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's still. I think we've patched something together, but I don't know.
Well, there's too many holes.
There's a lot of holes. Yeah, there are. I guess that's where we're gonna have to just leave it. You got any final thoughts on Jose Arigó?
No, but I wouldn't trust any psychic surgeries, you know, just to stay safe.
Yeah,
Probably best not to. I mean, unless you're at the end of your rope, sure. But then, you know, let us know. Let us know how it goes.
yeah. I would be curious about that because I don't know. Like, I had a pretty bad ingrown toenail a couple of months ago, and I'm thinking,
You
like,
did.
would I let this man operate on my toe? Probably not. Probably don't. I don't think I would. But then again, I'm a skeptic. So you'd have to
Well,
have some pretty good
yeah, or
placebo
you'd have to
drugs.
be really desperate.
Yeah, one or the
Like
other.
you had no other options.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, this was a good episode. Do you have anything to add before we get on out of here?
No.
Yeah, I'm with you. I kind of feel like we're just gonna have to live with the mystery, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, especially since I'll probably never get around to reading this book.
Yeah, I will forget everything we've talked about on this show the moment I stop recording. So
Yeah. No, same.
yeah. All right. Well, Rooster, remind our listeners of where they can
boy.
find you on social media.
At Sobro Rooster on Twitter and Rooster Chase on Instagram.
There it is. All right. And don't forget, come on, go to SobrosNetwork.com. There's a tab that says fiction on the menu. Go there, find Consume Chapter 1, start there. Don't do it in public because it's going to be like the old 50 Shades of Grey on the bus meme where the guy's reading it with just a boner in his sweatpants.
Is that...
You never seen that meme?
No.
The guy's reading 50 Shades of Grey on the bus and he's wearing sweatpants and you just see his boner. I'll see if I can find that for you. It's a good meme.
Great. Yeah, just send that to me.
Okay. Consumed is the name of the short story. It is fantastic. I'm a fan. I can't wait to see what you do next with your fiction.
Well,
and if anything, no pressure. I'm not trying to create that or anything. I'm just saying it's good. You have good thoughts in your head. So
thank you.
SobrosNetwork.com for that. All of our merch at SobrosShop.com. Subscribe to Phone It In on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you take in your shows. We are out in these internet streets. You can support the team through Patreon and gain an exclusive access. One single exclusive access to an exhaustive content library featuring hundreds of items of premium content. We're talking podcasts, videos, articles alike, all up there, $5 a month. Gets you instant access. That's patreon.com/SobrosNetwork. I'm at Stoney Keeley on Twitter, at Sobros Network on all major social media platforms. For our cryptid queen, Rooster, I am Big Natural Stoney Keeley. And until next time, you stay classy, phoners.
Bye.
The Sobros Network proudly brings to you two friends reunite coast to coast to phone it in on history, the creepy and the bizarre, lifestyle and travel, psychological and sociological phenomena. Well, pretty much anything. This is Phone It In on the Sobros Network.
I'm sorry, I played the wrong video. Are we still live? Yeah, we are still live. We are still live. Don't say anything crazy. The show is not just starting. The show ended. I thought I made an outro video that I could play, but it's not up here. It's the same intro over and over. So sorry about that, for real this time. Y'all come back now, you hear?